All right, a healthy person having a heart attack. Is that possible? I don't know. Anyway, this is Ryan over High Carb Regenerator. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about this video that I seen and we're going to be hopping in the computer and watching pretty soon. I've heard this statement over the years and it just like baffled my mind. But anyway, I think I'm going to hop into the computer and let's watch this video. All right, so here we are. A healthy person has a heart attack at what, 40? I don't know. I think he said 40. Anyway, let's get to watching.
In today's video, I'm going to discuss what it was like when I had my heart attack.
I mean, because that's normal now. You know, especially, I've noticed a lot more of that too after the experiment came out. Weird. You know, I'm out a lot because I do DoorDash and I just always kind of been out a lot because I'm not a huge fan of being in buildings. And I've never seen more ambulances in my life. Is it keto? Is it experiments? Is it carnivore? I don't know. Let's watch.
Hey, what's shaking bacon? I hope you're doing well.
Hopefully not bacon. I can't figure out why I had a heart attack. I eat bacon every day. Can't be that.
And this is a bit of a cautionary story for you because I want you to pay attention.
You know, the one thing I would like to point out, you know, maybe matter of fact, if I can find it again, if I can find the exact spot, I'm actually going to pop Pritikin in here, but Pritikin will tell you everything you need to know about why someone miraculously might have had a heart attack after eating carnivore. But let's, so anyway, here it is.
Damages your red blood cell. High-fat meals, the typical American kind of meals where almost half your total calories in fat, creates a similar problem. The fats get into the bloodstream as you digest them, and the blood gets so coated with fat particles all over that the fat actually coats the inside of the artery linings, coats all the cells, and the red blood cells, you have a fine layer of fat all around them. The fat acts as an adhesive, and when two red blood cells hit each other, as they frequently do, they stick together, and pretty soon you have a clump of red cells stuck together. Now normally the red blood cells, being twice the size of the smallest blood vessels they have to go through, usually bend themselves in half and slither through the small capillaries. But when they're stuck together, they can't bend themselves anymore. It's like a solid cork. It's like a cork in a bottle. It goes to the small capillary, which is, again, is only half the size of the red blood cell, and just blocks it, and it stays there. Now, as the red blood cells are stuck together, those surfaces cannot pick up oxygen. And of course, the parts of the body where the circulation is completely cut off because the clumps of cells are not permitting circulation become starved for oxygen, starved for blood. That too can create angina. We know by Dr. Peter Quo's work. Peter Quo was a Philadelphia cardiologist when he did a study, and he took 14 angina patients, and he asked them to come to his office, and he says, "Don't have breakfast, I'm going to feed you." And what he did was to tape them up with electrodes from electrocardiographic equipment, monitor their blood to see how much fat was in their blood, and then he fed them a glass of heavy cream. 4 to 5 hours after the glass of heavy cream, he registered 14 angina attacks, and yet they were just comfortable in his office, doing nothing special, just letting the fat get into the blood, make the cells sticking together, block the small vessels, and creating coronary insufficiency. The electrocardiographic results also demonstrated coronary insufficiency, whereas in the beginning, there wasn't any. Now, Dr. Crow wanted to see if it was the amount of fluid that these people had or what it was, so a short time later, he gave the same patients a drink that had no fat at all, but the same amount of fluid and the same amount of calories. 4 to 5 hours after the test, there wasn't a single angina attack, not a single abnormality in the electrocardiogram. We've established through the years that fat is an enemy if you have a circulatory problem. Other investigators like Dr. Meyer Friedman at Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco had invited 41 firemen to come to his clinic, and what he did was to give them a glass of heavy cream to drink. He was surprised to find when he looked in the small vessels around the eye that 4 to 5 hours after the drink, when the fat had come into the system and blocked small vessels, that he could count 25 blockages in the little area that he was observing with his microscope. About 9 hours after the fat had been taken in, the cream had been drunk, the blockages resolved and the fat left the blood. On another day, he took the same fireman and decided to give them polyunsaturated fat, safflower oil, because it was around this time the American Heart Association was saying, change your diet, but the only change you have to make is the kind of fat you use. Use polyunsaturated fats instead of saturated fats like butter and lard and margarine. Use corn oil, use safflower oil. So Dr. Friedman wanted to see what happens when you give them safflower oil. He made a drink about the same amount of fluid, the same amount of fat as he did the butter fat, the cream drink, gave it to the fireman, and 4 to 5 hours after the drink was amazed to find that the amount of blockages were identical as with the butter fat. The fat made the cells stick together and block the small capillaries just as effectively as if it were cream. So it didn't make any difference whether it's saturated or polyunsaturated. The vessel blockage happened just as well. And at that time, Dr. Friedman had a warning in his article that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, in which he said, the recommendations should not substitute one fat for another, but should decrease all fats. That was in 1965.
And we're back.
Because if you have a loved one who's in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, they are at high risk of heart attack if they have a history of metabolic syndrome, high insulin, diabetes, if they had other health problems, or just a family history of something like heart disease. This is something that applies to them, and I want you to pay close attention to
it. It has nothing to do with diet, nothing. Eat all the cholesterol, eat all the bacon you want. It's not going to affect you.
Story. This is how I dealt with my heart attack. It's a little bit of a weird, funny story, but it's something that you should pay attention to because the signs aren't always obvious. It's not like in the movies when someone stops and goes, grabs their chest and falls. That's not it at all.
Yeah, I was in the office one time at the food distribution place that I worked at, and a guy he was in the middle of a sentence. He fell over, and he was having a heart attack. He did make it, though. I used to work with a lot of Italians, and these dudes, I mean, it was salami and bologna and pastroni or whatever on rye or whatever every single day with bacon on top of that with a little bit of olive oil on that. And like some olive loaf or olive salad or whatever on top of it. I'm like, damn. And you guys can't figure out why you're having all these heart attacks.
Not often. I've known people who have died from a heart attack before they hit the floor. And they know that because they still had.
Because they're dead. That's how they knew it. They knew it because they were dead.
Food in their hand, and that's how they were found. I've seen people like my father who had a heart attack and he drove himself to the hospital with the doctor's permission.
That's actually what happened to Arnold. He was in the middle of, he thought he was having a heart attack, and he looked over to his daughter and he's like, do you mind if I don't take you to school today? I think I'm about to die. And do you mind if we go to the hospital? And of course she was like, of course, let's go to the hospital.
We're talking back in the 80s. Things were a little different back in the 80s. So I'm going to talk about my situation though. So pay close attention to how these symptoms came on. It might be different for you or a loved one, but I want you to pay attention that men have heart attack symptoms different from what women have. So if you're in your 40s or 50s, I've known 2 women so far, old friends of mine, actually my friends' wives who have had heart attacks. That's just mind-boggling to me.
It is.
There are healthy women.
Healthy. Healthy people do not have heart attacks. Does not happen. There is something going on.
40s. One was extremely healthy. Actually.
Extremely healthy, but they had a heart attack. They were skinny, so they must have been healthy, but they had a heart attack. Anyway, as I mentioned when I was introing this video, I've heard this statement over the years, and it's never made sense to me. The first time I think I heard it was in the mid to late 80s. Somebody in the family, or a friend of the family actually, was like a marathon runner, and he was an Italian dude, and he died at 39. He died at 39. And everybody's like, oh, he was so healthy. He ran everywhere. He didn't own a car. But he was an Italian dude. And like I said, either now or you'll see it in a video. Every Italian dude, like true Italian, like really wanted to be Italian. They eat like a lot of lunch meats. They eat a lot of like olive salads. They eat a lot of crazy stuff. They put olive oil on everything. They dip their bread in olive oil. They put butter on it first. And it's just like, and it's not just the dudes, it's like the whole family, right? And they die. And a lot of people, a lot of Italians die like in that 50 years, or especially if they run a restaurant, especially because I've known a lot of Italian people who've owned restaurants over there. They I mean, 55 is like their like pinnacle. And I know in the comment section, 35 people are going to say, well, blah, 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 blah. My grandma was 150 when she died. But I'm talking like, if you really look at statistically, restaurant owners and pilots are ones that really don't have a long, like a shorter lifespan than average. And then you add like a lot of the olive oil and like everything else that goes along with it. And then people have heart attacks. But anyway, if you saw what the Pritikin interlude there, he completely talks about how you have angina attacks after you have fat in your diet. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
So one night I bought a fireplace and I rushed it over to my office. I was really excited because I'm a registered massage therapist. It was this 5-foot long fireplace, so it worked perfectly in my office. I had a really nice setup, lots of natural light, curtains, all you name it.
Maybe that's what caused it.
Great setup for a massage therapist. So I got my brother, we moved it into my office. Now we had to park out front of the building, go up a flight of stairs, and then we had to walk all the way to the back of the office where my treatment room was. Now we didn't stop. Normally after you do something heavy like that and you're carrying a big piece of furniture, you kind of get to the top of the steps and you stop and you catch your breath and then go a little.
Not when my buddy and I were moving stuff, but we weren't doing carnivore.
Further, you rearrange your grip, you do what you need to. But in my situation, we just went straight. So after my brother left, I just plugged the fireplace right in, set it up. It looked great. 5 minutes later, my client showed up. I started giving this massage, and partway through the massage, probably about 20 minutes into the massage, all of a sudden I started getting really nauseous. And I thought,
the nauseous thing, left arm goes numb.
Oh man, is that food poisoning? Like I never get
carnivore. You can't get food poisoning on carnivore. What are you kidding me? I love how easily people on this carnivore keto thing will just say, well, you know, like how easily they accept how their diet being so bad, but they just call it food poisoning, or they call it this or they call it that. I actually got food poisoning quite often when I was eating that way, because it just, things aren't cooked properly, or like a piece of chicken touches it and it's not cooked right. And it's just like crazy. Why would you want to live like that? The only time that you hear of people who are plant-based getting this salmonella is when like somebody takes a dump on the lettuce and doesn't clean it off, and then they put it in the packaging and you eat it or something like that. Or like bad greens. Like I think that's what took the Chili's restaurant, or Chi-Chi's, restaurant out, like, I think it was chives or something like some bad chives actually was so bad that it killed somebody. Now, was it something else that they ate? It could have been, right? They just wanted to blame the chives. Anyway, back to the video.
I haven't had the flu since I was 10 years old. I've had a few colds, but that's it. So I was doing this back massage and all of a sudden I was just feeling really weak. And I thought, oh boy. Now I had just had an ice cap from Tim Hortons as well as a chicken wrap. So I thought, is there something funky in that chicken wrap, because I do not feel good. So I was keeping it to myself and I'm massaging this guy and we were talking back and forth, but all of a sudden I started getting kind of quiet. And for about 10 minutes, that was the only symptom I had. And then after about 10 minutes, because I was thinking, okay, soon I'm going to be sitting down, because eventually partway through my massages, after I finished working on the back, I would work on the neck and shoulders. And that's a sit down part of the job. So I was like, okay, hopefully I'm going to be sitting down really soon. And then
it's so weird to me. I mean, you don't really hear a lot of vegans talking about, man, they're just so used to their food being so crap that it's just, you know, probably nauseating from the food that I just ate from Hortons or Tim Hortons or whatever, from Beachbody. And, you know, it's like the shit that they have to live through.
Then I'll just be able to take some of the pressure off my feet.
I mean, why is that normal? Why are you just like, oh, this is normal. I'm carnivore. This is normal.
I'll hopefully relax.
The ice wrap, I'm assuming, is like chicken wrapped in iceberg or something like that.
It's a little bit. But after about 10 minutes, I started feeling an ache right here on my left side. And I thought, unilateral pressure, that's not a good sign. And then I noticed after a couple more minutes, it spread to my jaw. And then after a couple more minutes, it spread out to my shoulder. And it didn't go anywhere past that. And I thought, that's symptoms of a heart attack. Huh. And I'm a pretty rational guy under stress, because I used to be a bouncer for a lot of years. So I was always in high pressure situations. So I got very calm. And that's one of the most important things to walk away from in this story.
Legit. Like, if you can't freak out, like anybody who freaks out, anybody who's over emotional, anybody who is like that should not be in any kind of high pressure job, especially certain office jobs.
If somebody's having a heart attack, they need to calm down. They can't get worked up. You can't get worked up if they're dealing with a heart attack, because if you get worked up, you can work them up. And they need to keep their heart rate low. They need to stay relaxed. Whether you like it or not, you have to cool down. And that's exactly what I did. It's just my nature. So I was feeling nauseous and I felt that pressure. And then all of a sudden I felt cold, clammy hands. And I thought, okay, that's weird. And then I noticed I felt a burning in my sternum right here, right behind my sternum. But it wasn't like a heartburn. It felt like somebody took chili paste with their finger and made a line on the inside of my sternum underneath my skin and breastbone. I felt this defined line of heat and I was like, oh, that's not good. So I thought, okay, I've seen at least a dozen people through the years who thought they were having a heart attack. It turned out to be a panic attack. Well, I was under quite a bit.
Yeah. You know what? Sandy actually used to get those. Probably doesn't want me announcing that, so I'm not going to go any further with that. But yeah. So that can be really bad.
The stress at the time. And
gosh, I hope she's not going to bitch slap me for I don't think she
had already gone zero carb on and off for quite a while. And I had put lots of that weight back on. I think I was up to probably about
here we go.
Almost 400.
Carbohydrates are what your heart uses to function. You took them away and you're bragging about it. And now you're water retaining because you added them back in, and the body's trying to survive because it's retaining water.
400 pounds by this point. I believe I had just had my 42nd birthday like a week before. So this was actually on my brother's birthday this happened. So, and he's never let me live it down since. So I thought, okay, maybe this is a panic attack. I don't know. I've never.
You idiot. You had a heart attack on my birthday. How will I survive? I just can't manage.
Never had either a panic attack or a heart attack, but I know way more people where it turned out to be a panic attack before it was a heart attack. So it was at the point of the massage where I was able to sit down and just relax. And I thought, maybe if I just relax a little bit, we'll see how this goes. So keep in mind, from beginning to end by this point, it'd only been about 15 minutes, ballpark 15 minutes. The first 10 minutes of that was just straight nausea. So I was just like, okay, let's see how this goes. Let's see what this is.
Okay. I think we've gotten enough out of this. I don't want to watch any more of this because it's just like put two and two together here. It's really not that hard. That there is high cholesterol. There is a lot of fat in animals that you're eating. And that same thing does not happen when you eat plant food. And everybody's like, well, you got to supplement to be on vegan. And I don't understand that statement because I don't take supplements and I'm still here. And they act like the supplement industry was never around prior to vegan being around. Some of the conveniences that people say nowadays is just like, oh, okay, there you go. That makes a lot of sense. Anyways, I'm going to hand it out of here back to myself outside of the computer. Hopefully this did you some, hopefully people can start seeing how ridiculous some of these statements are. Like a perfectly healthy 39-year-old dies from a heart attack. That is not the case. They were not healthy. Normal, healthy people don't just have clogged arteries. Anyway. All right, so hopefully this video did you some good. If it did, share it with other people. People don't just have heart attacks. This doesn't just happen unless it's like some crazy genetic thing or something like that. This is not normal. People like 39 don't just have heart attacks. Now, people 39 might die, from a car accident or like some accident or something like that. But heart attacks at 39, come on. It's ridiculous. Start piecing this stuff together, people. It's absolutely asinine. Anyway, comments, questions down below. Like, subscribe. And like I said, I've been noticing a lot more of with healthy people with the experiment. Could be coincidence. I have no idea. Maybe they're doing keto too. I have no idea. But anyway, talk to you in the next video. And while you're here, if you really want to check out, I did another reaction video the other day about calories. I've got that video down below. I'm also going to include a playlist of some of the reaction videos that I've done, because I'm really having a lot of fun with these, and I think people get a lot of information out of them. So, you know, watch them, share them, pass them along, and I'll talk to you in the next video.